First, giving all praises to the Most High Yah. I am your host, Yehoiakim Ben Israel, and welcome to the West End Business Podcast. Today, I have one of my most honorable guests, my brother, none other than the Prince himself, Ashriel Ben Israel. Not only is he a prince, but he also represents the African Hebrew Israelite nation in Jerusalem. He's one of our spokesmen and has been on the ground for the last, I don't know how many years, representing us and pushing our concerns to the public, being a representative in Israel and all around the world on multiple continents, answering questions and showing a different perspective of the African Israelite. Shalom, shalom, achi.
Shalom, shalom, brother. And thank you for having me here, with you on the podcast and being here, and aligning with the brothers and sisters. It's always a pleasure to be, with our people, wherever we are in the world. So
I know.
Thank you for having me on.
You are one of the most busiest brothers that I know in our generation. And I appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming all the way out here to Atlanta, just so that the viewers will know, from Israel to Atlanta, a direct flight. How many hours is that about?
No, it took me 16 hours to get here.
16 hours just to come and deliver a message to you. So we thank you so much again for coming to join us. And as we know, in the media right now, Israel has risen to the front of the stage. Israel, some people call it Palestine, the Middle East, Northeast Africa. And just wanted to ask you a couple questions about that. But also, again, we went to school together. We were probably born in the same house of life. We weren't born in the house. Were you born in the hospital?
No, I was born in Dimona.
In Dimona, Beit Chaim. I was born in the house of life in Dimona. We went to school together. We know each other. It's safe to say that we know each other since Superman draws.
Absolutely, since way back in the day. Right.
Okay, all right. I just wanted. I wanted to. Because you got that following out there, and Shakir. Bekola Olam, but, when you come back to Dimona, or when I come back to Dimona, it's Yehoiachin and Ashriel.
Straight up.
Okay, so first things first, I've been watching your content and been informed by your perspective on the current situation in the land. But can you give us a brief overview of what's going on right now? Some things that may not be on mainstream media, so that people will know why you do what you do.
First of all, giving all praises to the God Almighty. It's always important that we give, the praises and thanks, first of all, to, the source of our being. And coming back from the land right now, things have been very complicated, at the least since October 7th, right? Because what happened on October 7th was so devastating for people who live in Israel for a few reasons. The first reason I would say is because, first of all, nobody ever expected that within a few hour period of time, right, 1,200 people will be brutally murdered the way they were. The entire country was in shock. Now, I'm not talking only about people who identify as Jews or Israelis, but I'm talking about everybody who reside in Israel, because at times people don't really understand that Israel is not a monolith.
It's not black and white.
It's not black. It's very diverse.
Very diverse.
Right? And so when you understand the diversity that exists in Israel, then you would understand why and how so many people were affected and impacted by what took place on October 7th.
That's correct.
Because when you look at it, you have a breakdown of the population in Israel, which approximately 70% of the people identify as Jews, right? Then you have 20% of people who identify as Arab Israelis, but the 20% of people who identify as Arab Israelis are also not a monolith, because you have Bedouins and you have Druze and you have Arab Israelis and you have Afro-Bedouins and Afro-Palestinians, all of these people fit into that Arab-Israeli context, right? But then you also have on the Israeli side, you have, on the Jewish side, the Jewish-Israeli side, right? You have Moroccans and Yemenites and Egyptians and
from Tunis, Algeria, all of those
Tunisians and Europeans and North Americans and South Africans. So you have all of these type of people. Then you have all of the other ones who are considered others according to the population control in Israel, which are Hebrew Israelites and
Sudanese, Ethiopians.
No, I wasn't even. No. The Ethiopians are considered part of the Israeli or the Jewish portion, right?
Okay.
But then you have the Christians, right? Then you have the Armenians, and then you have the Hebrew Israelites, and so you have all of these people who make up.
Baha'i people.
You have the Baha'i, so all these people make up, the Israeli society. And so when you understand how all these people were affected by what took place there, because you had people who were killed who were foreigners, right? You had people who were killed who were Ethiopian. You had people who were killed who were who were from Tanzania, and I mean all these places. So you had all a bunch of people. You had Arab Israelis, you had Bedouins. All these people were affected by what took place there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And since then, things escalated into a war. That also on the other side, you have a lot of people who, when you look at that as a human being, right, you see the destruction, the devastation of people who were affected also in Gaza by what's taking place. That's also very much devastating. So everything that's taking place right now in Israel, people are really in a state of a shock.
So I'm happy you brought up the other side.
Yeah.
Because being over here in Atlanta, looking out, and even though I was born in Israel, I served in the military, I understand better than most people out here a different perspective. But being out here and looking outside in, oh man, the devastation in Gaza. I mean, it looked like Israel is just over there massacring everybody.
I mean, it's devastating. Everything. Okay, let's start with the fact that war is a very devastating thing. I think this is probably one of the only times in history that we actually have seen war, that people have been televising war, right? The world has been in war since time immemorial.
That's true.
But nobody was really taking short clips and spreading it in the world on TikTok and on Instagram and on Facebook within a matter of seconds. And so when you look at this devastation, and even in Israel, right? When you look at the devastation of how people's bodies were laid out, these things are devastating. They have a deep ingrained effect on people's psyche.
That's true.
And so when people see these type of things, nobody can be just apprehensive or calm to these type of atrocious sights. It's devastating. And so Israel is not the only place that the war is taking place right now in the world. We have at the least 41 conflicts that are taking place all over the world at the moment.
Man.
And so, but Israel is the only one that's actually was taking place in Gaza, and I say specifically only in Gaza because you don't see a lot of pictures from what's taking place in Israel or what happened in Israel on October 7th. And part of the reason why was because a lot of those families didn't want those things to be, exposed to the public like that. Right. And so you have a lot of people in Israel to say, okay, you should probably share that information also with the world so that the world could be able to understand
how
the devastation that we experience as
well. And I'm happy that you said that because, again, being from Israel, sometimes we get information shared with us that the world don't get. Mm-hmm. So we'll have a deeper perspective or a different perspective than, and I've had many conversations. Sometimes I would drive Uber and I'm talking to, I picked up a Palestinian. Mm-hmm. I said, man, we're brothers. I said, the government's got us fighting or whatever it may be. I said, but we're brothers. And he said, you're absolutely right.
The governments don't have us fighting.
Okay.
The governments are fighting.
Okay.
We are affected by the government's wars, but it's not only the government's wars, it's also the shadow governments that are also using their own desires and manipulating the minds and the hearts of people to cause them to have, a feeling towards the others, which you don't even know how your mind and your body and your soul are being manipulated in the situation. Because most people, if you speak to the average person, right, the average Palestinian, Israeli, whatever, most people just want to live a normal life. most people are not really concerned with the other side like that. But when you focus on the extremes, then it gives the impression that the extremes represent the majority.
That's true.
But the extremes don't represent the majority. And so even in Gaza, for example, right? In 2023, 2 weeks after October 7th, right?
Okay.
The Arab Barometer, which is a well-respected polling organization in the Arab world, right? They conducted a research and a survey within the Palestinian, Arab, Gazan citizens, right? And they were asking them a few questions.
Okay.
And one of the questions that they had asked was, do you support, for example, a solution, political solution with Israel? 72% of the people said that they support a solution with Israel. But according to the Hamas charter, they say that there is no political solution with Israel. The only way to go about things is jihad. And so when you have such different opinions, or at the least feelings within a specific society that don't necessarily represent both sides, then you would be caught off guard believing that what Hamas is perpetrating represents the whole. Right. And even in Israel, you would, if you didn't know, you would think that everybody is a representation of the current government,
right,
or everybody wants war.
Right.
But if you move around in Israel, you would see that there are people who are protesting against the continuation of the war. You would see Arabs and Israelis who are working together for the purpose of peace. As a matter of fact, the majority of the people...
Some people are married together.
Some people, and as a matter of fact, the majority of the people who were actually massacred on October 7th on the Gaza border, on the Gaza envelope, on all of the kibbutzim, we call them, but they're actually, small settlements.
Right.
The majority of those people were actually working hand in hand with Palestinian people, families from Gaza, marching with them for the purpose of bringing a peaceful solution, saying that they don't want to have this as an eternal marker. They want to reach some type of solution that will allow us all to be able to, to coexist, to live together.
You just awakened something inside of me. So we both served in the military in Israel.
Right.
And they had this segment that took place when I was in the military for the families who are victims of war. And they brought Palestinians up in there, and they brought Jews, and they're holding hand in hand, and they're letting us know in the military that we don't need to fight.
You're not going to see that in the world.
But you'll never see that on the mainstream.
Because the mainstream's purpose is to make money, right? These are corporations. And the corporations, when they have a purpose, and they have to continue to serve that purpose. Yeah. And how do they serve that purpose? They serve that purpose by continuing to feed the public with information, with sites, with things that'll be able to touch you emotionally.
Is that what Abba Ben Ami called the evil genius?
That's the evil genius, because they know that they have to work on the sensitive nerves of people, emotions, to cause you to then respond in a certain way to it, where you would be more interested in continuing to tune into the news because you want to hear about the next worst thing that just happened. Most people wouldn't even tune into the news if they were only talking about great things.
It's this book called The Four. Have you read it?
I haven't.
Scott Galloway, The Four. It talks about the four biggest companies: Apple, Amazon, Google, and Facebook. And they play on the same emotions in this consumer economy that you're talking about, that the governments play on for war. So like they wouldn't build a new hospital if they didn't know that this many people was going to be in that bed per year. Okay? They wouldn't build more cemeteries or more whatever it is. Around the U.S. right now, you see dialysis places. But they have contracts with the same people that feed people. You know what I'm saying? So it's the evil genius all connected up. And we have to free ourselves from war, but from war on food, from war on music. The same thing. The artists around here in the U.S., especially in Atlanta and stuff, they get contracts so that they can make music so that our brothers and sisters kill themselves or kill each other.
And these things are known. One of the things that people don't realize, specifically when dealing with wars, is that in order for these corporations that are continuing to manufacture weapons, in order for them to continue to be fruitful, in order for them to continue to make the money that they're making, it has to be conflict. It has to be war. because other than that, they don't have nobody to sell the weapons to.
That's true.
And so now they sold you weapons and they sold them weapons, and now they have to somehow make sure that this continues on so that you could then need more weaponry so that you can be able to protect yourself. And in that case, they know that now they're guaranteeing themselves another few billions of dollars on the backs of the people who are suffering from the wars being carried out. And then the political leaders, they're the ones who, in order for them to remain in power, they would have to then convince somebody else that that's the enemy. And so we need to continue to rally around the flag and to do what we need to do in order to annihilate the other people because they're the bad people. But then when you sit down and you look at it and you analyze it, you would see that all of these corporations, all these organizations, all of these establishments are actually working against us. We, me and you and the other, ordinary people, we are the victims of money, hunger, greed. We are the victims.
The 7 deadly sins, huh?
We are the victims of that. We're the victims of that. So we're operating now within an environment that we are being used to carry out other people's agendas. And we don't even realize that. And so you think that you're mad at somebody, an ordinary person, because of what they believe, what their political persuasion is, what, their religious persuasion is. You think that you have a problem with them because of that. No, you don't have a problem with them because of that. You have a problem with them because you've been programmed to believe that when you see a person who is identified as this, that's your enemy. The person ain't never did nothing to you.
That's true.
He probably is closer to you in terms of, because
right.
we all inherit these things. We are taught these things. Right. And if every child comes out.
We're downloaded
with that.
Download on your program.
But first, no. First we upload.
Okay.
We download it to our bodies or whatever, but we upload the information that you then will be able to operate as a robotic figure, carrying out these specific dimensions. You have been programmed to operate in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways as a robotic figure. You don't even realize that you're in the matrix. You don't realize that you're not even operating as yourself. You're not you.
Man, you saying something deep right there because, one of our previous episodes was about that. It's like, the brother was telling me something about smoking and drinking. And again, this is a little off topic, but smoking and drinking feel good. I said, does it really feel good, or were you sold that? Somebody sold that to you. Yeah,
they sold it to you. But those things specifically, those things have a nervous effect, or have an effect on your nerves and on your neurons, and those things cause your body to react in a certain way when you do these. When you provide your body with certain things
it numb your body, but it don't feel good.
It depends on how people define feeling good. Some people that make them feel good. I don't know, but I'm saying certain things have an effect on your body, and you don't realize it. You don't realize how deep in you are until you have to take a break from certain things, and you just go and say, okay, I'm going to clear my mind. I'm not going to be bothered with this and this and this, and I'm not going to consume everything that society is pushing on me. And then when you take a moment and you step back and you look at it, you're like, man, I thought that I was operating within my full self.
Free will.
But then come to find out, I was given a few options. And whenever you're given a few options, then you're not really operating in accordance with your desire. You operate in accordance with the options that have been given to you. So if somebody said that you have a red car or you have a blue car, you can choose either one of those. You're not really making a choice because this is all they've given to you. The only choice that you can be able to make would be from the two options that have been provided to you.
Is that the same thing that happened to Eve in the garden?
Well, even going back, but the difference there was that you had two options. Yes, but one of the options was that you live, and another one of the options was that you die. And unfortunately, the second option was the chosen option. And you don't realize that, and that's another thing, society has really did a big one on people's minds and on our feelings and on the way that we operate, because you believe that death is determined based on your physical body decaying and then putting you into a grave.
Some people, so you mean to tell me some people are here walking around here dead?
dead as can be. Dead
How can
as
you
can
be
be.
walking around and be dead at the same time?
Because you have to understand what constitutes life. What determines life?
Mm-hmm.
Life is not you having just a beating heart. Life is a level of consciousness. You being consciously aware of your environment. Whenever you are unconscious about, usually that's you mentally dead when you're unconscious.
Even in the hospital, sometimes they say you're a vegetable because the body is still operating to a certain degree, but the brain isn't.
The brain is not.
So you're not conscious.
So you're not conscious.
So that right there already proves that you can.
Exactly.
Right,
so you have people who are walking around clinically unconscious.
Right. They're just not in the hospital. They're walking around like that.
You have no idea what's going on.
Wow.
You have no idea what's going on in your life.